My name is Njie, a food rights activist and a blogger, working with a youth-led organization called Activista. Activista is a network of young people, youths, and students who have the aim to fight against injustice and hunger on a global scale. The Gambia is among the poorest countries in West Africa, with 65% of its population live below the poverty line, that is less than $1 a day. The country relies on agriculture as the main backbone of its economy, but yet there are some issues that undermine the food security of the country, which affects the population locally and as well on a global scale. Drought is one of the major issues affecting food security in the Gambia. As part of the Sahel, the Gambia experienced the worst drought last year. The crops were greatly affected, and this had negative impact in the lives of the poor, especially women and children. The major cause of the drought was associated with low rainfall. This aggravated the failure of cereal crops, predominantly rice, which is the staple food of the country.
Man maa ngi tudd Seet Siisi dëkk Jokkul maala mi ñu bay ren yëpp fa yàqu yëpp fa wow suma kër gi de doomam tiga jaayuñ ko maala bay nañ ci yee am na ñetti hectare ak dimi waaye ñaari pot asuñ ko ci kër gi.
nawet bu baaxul bi de laal na jigéen ñi jigéen ñi bay maalo waro yi bay baaxut waro boo daan bay di ci xam ay juróomi saako juróom benn saako ren xam na yoo xam ne ñii xamuñ ci beñuwaar ñii xamuñ ci saako bu fees jigéen ñi daal jànk nañoo coono yu métti daal ci mbiri mbay mi.
Animals were equally affected due to insufficient feed. Income levels have declined sharply due to the failure of cash crops. This has subjected to communities in the rural Gambia to sell both large and small ruminants, and in some cases, draft animals such as donkey to buy food. Globally, rising food price of key cereals affects households. Grain scarcity, elevated prices of commodities in the sub-region. This affected regional trades as well as the availability and the price of imported grains in the Gambia. High food prices made access to food difficult for a large segment of the population. Resources allocated to the agricultural sector to boost productivity are not enough, and the little resources available are not decentralized. Farmers, especially women farmers, lack support in terms of getting land, fertilizers, subsidies for farm implements.
Sate musolle faroni ni kado ko bari faroni nga fu molle bul menu keta buje kundan ko le tam kenoti nim faro serun ko nga do kule serun ko keno warta nyintili bari men tam karadote ay jetali bira sulata jeba nata kene ko wonte na faroni ngala fano fon be tambila nyinnal bari kene ko akam batale mbe men dani la dron pour keno ni nga soto membulo kono yem fu wala dron fo nga do ku faw tolbe la firi ngala wolel kene ko mun na problem baleti tol musoli.
Lack of good roads, irrigation systems, factories to process farm produce into finished products. This affects the farming population as it only limits them to traditional way of farming, which exposes the soil to wind and water. Globally, lack of adequate resources has denied farmers the access to participate in international trade of agricultural produce due to the nature of farming they partake in. Climate change is one of the greatest threats to food security, and Gambia is not an exception. It has a global challenge, but its impacts varies across regions. Agricultural production in the Gambia is dominated by subsistence farming, almost exclusively based on rain-fed agriculture, which make the people vulnerable to poverty as a result of climate change. Rain patterns are not predictable, and farmers are exposed to floodings. The most vulnerable are smallholder farmers who continue to lose their crops and face food insecurity. Solution to this problem: first, farmers must be empowered. There is a need to invest in irrigation scheme to move from flood irrigation with wastewater to avoid losses during drought. The planting of trees will serve as a sink for greenhouse gases and sustainable farming practices. Women farmers should be supported to have access to land, agricultural solutions, infrastructural improvement, and markets in which to sell their products. We can work together to see a world where everyone will have the right and access to food. Bye-bye.
Sulemu mbula da kule kono walelanda